Peach. Even the name of this produce-plucking princess is plastered with plenty. In Super Smash Bros., she possesses the magical power to create giant turnips out of thin air. But it's not all roses in the Mushroom Kingdom. Peach, tainted like so many before her by the dark side of royalty, uses this immensely potent ability not for the betterment of her subjects, but as a simple weapon. One day, she must answer for her sins. Today on Zach Games Doing, how many mouths could Peach feed? First, we want to find out how quickly Peach can pull those turnips. It's easy to cycle turnips by simply plucking them and throwing them away, but this is actually not the fastest method. I contacted EOE, a well-respected Peach main, and he worked his spooky input magic to shorten the entire turnip cycling process to just 53 frames. That's one turnip every 53/60ths of a second, or 1.132 turnips per second, from here on out referred to as TPS. However, we don't want to forget that sometimes Peach doesn't pull turnips. She has a 1 in 250 or 0.4% chance of pulling a Bob-omb, and a 1 in 166 or 0.6% chance of pulling a Mr. Saturn. Please note that although Mr. Saturns may have potential as a food source, this is unexplored territory and will not be considered today. Anyway, combined, this is a 1% chance of not pulling a turnip, and factoring that in leaves us with a true value of 1.121 TPS. Of course, this value is an optimal upper limit to Peach's turnip output. We'll discuss her realistic yield and working conditions later in the video. So it's good to know Peach's TPS, but without knowing how big her turnips are, it's just an empty statistic. But how can we measure the size of her turnips? Smash doesn't come with a built-in ruler, and relative character size is very unreliable. The answer lies in Peach's side smash attack. You see, the standard tennis racket length is 27 inches, and if we assume Peach's racket is standard, we can compare pixel measurements to find out her turnip's diameter. Peach's side smash does move her forward slightly and therefore affects the camera, so you can see me adjusting for that here using the sandbag size for reference. But here's where we run into a hitch in our plans. The odd shape of Peach's turnips means we can't just plug in measurements to find their volume. We need a sphere, and if we want that, we're going to have to do something risky, something dangerous. Put your thinking cap on and buckle that seatbelt, because we're going to use approximation. Alright, so I tried to approximate as accurately as possible, and I think this looks pretty good. The yellow circle represents the sphere we're approximating the turnip to, and if we compare the racket's length to that sphere's diameter in pixels, we can find out just how big those turnips are. Let's quickly convert inches to centimeters because it sounds more sciencey that way, and now we're ready to find some volume. And there you have it, 42,802 cubic centimeters, or about 1.5 cubic feet. Now we're going to need the average density of turnip flesh, and luckily for us, the USDA offers this information in its National Nutrient Database for Standard Reference Release 28. According to that database, your average US cup of turnip matter is going to weigh about 130 grams, and a quick conversion tells us this is equivalent to 1 cubic centimeter weighing 0.55 grams. Multiplying this density with the turnip volume of 42,802 cubic centimeters we found earlier, we find that one of Peach's turnips weighs about 23.5 kilograms, or 51.8 pounds. That's more than 3 standard bowling balls combined. That's right, Peach is ripped. But I'm not going to get sidetracked here. You came to this video for the facts, not some dumb trivia. We may have found the mass of one turnip, but our journey has only just begun. The way forward is to scour the World Wide Web for the caloric density of turnip matter, and it's right here. It's right here in the National Nutrient Database for Standard Reference, Release 28. It says here that 100 grams of turnip matter contains about 28 kilocalories of energy, so one turnip weighing 23,541 grams contains 6,591.5 kilocalories. Side note, in America, 1 calorie equals 1,000 calories, because our calories are better. So when I say calories from here on out, I mean large calories, the kind of calories that are equal to 1,000 calories, or 1 kilocalorie. Either way, the numbers will be exactly the same as the ones you see on food labels. So 6,591.5 calories times 1.121 TPS gives us about 7,389 calories per second. As an average woman needs around 2,000 per day, and your average man needs about 500 more than that, we'll say the average human needs 2,250 calories. Which means that, on average, 1 second's plucking could feed 3 people for an entire day with some left over. But however impressive that might sound, 3 people is just a tiny drop in a very large ocean. If we want to make the biggest impact we can, we're going to have to strive for maximum yield. That's right, it's time to discuss working conditions. Peach is a criminal, you know that? She is a very bad ruler and a very bad person, and yet she has the potential to do such great good. And if, out of her own selfishness, she refuses to live up to that potential, then don't you think we have a responsibility to do that for her? Here's what I'm thinking. 16-hour workday, 1 hour for meals, 7 for sleep and other stuff, no weekends or holidays. Speaking honestly, I think that's what Peach deserves. There are 57,600 seconds in 16 hours, so that's 425,606,400 calories Peach can generate in a day, which is enough to completely feed over 189,000 people for that time. I think we can both agree that, for this purpose, subjecting Peach to abduction, imprisonment, and forced labor would be entirely justified. I got this revolution going. You know, hundreds of thousands of oppressed toads who want nothing but freedom and food on the table.